Yeah, so yeah, my name's Nick Hodgman. Currently, I am not gigging, but when I am gigging, I gig as part of an acoustic group called the Covers Club. Um, we've been on the scene as the Covers Club probably for around 7 years,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
I didn't even think it
um,
was that long.
yeah, bit of veterans on the scene um, at the minute, at least. In this guise, obviously not done gigs since I was 15, really. But yeah,
That
Covers Club
leads,
at the minute.
that leads it on very nicely to how did you first get involved with the arts? When was the first time you thought, "Ooh, I want to be a musician"?
Uh, it goes back to my mum. Uh, she would sort of she taught me my first like three chords on guitar. When I'll have been like, I don't know, 9 or 10, and then it kind of just progressed and progressed. And I was a drummer for a little bit. Then in my first band, I was a bassist. Then I taught, I saw like, yeah, we all love the bassist. Um, then I taught myself more guitar, taught myself more piano, and just kind of sort of snowballed from there, really.
When was the so like as you were like learning, obviously your mother taught you the first three chords. How did you learn your craft from there? Was it self-taught or did you have teachers at any stages?
So it was always, in terms of the instruments, the only instrument I had lessons on were the drums. Everything else was just picking up in sort of in secondary school mainly. Really, you learn sort of more the theory side of music. So then you would know where you were on a keyboard, and I would then swap that from learning a song on piano to be able to play it on guitar, and vice versa. If I could play a song on guitar, I'd then try and play the same thing on piano. So yeah, the two only drums I've had lessons with, really.
Cool. So who in your craft is your like major like influence or inspiration?
Um, I think doing what we do now, you get inspired in terms of the acoustic side of things. You get inspired by more, um, not necessarily more folky artists, but you get inspired more by the B sides of a lot of artists. Like as stigmatized as it is, so I love listening to a lot of the acoustic Coldplay stuff. Like because it's just like, especially from the early days, like
I like
it's
Coldplay.
yeah.
Our old boss doesn't like Coldplay.
No, he certainly doesn't. Um, but like, yeah, it's like the acoustic Coldplay stuff is always really good to like just like mess about with. Obviously, the big ones, the Oasis, because they had a lot of like acoustic tracks. Um, but then at the same time, I started playing music when I was more into sort of the alternative side of things, like the rock and the new metal as it was in the time. Um, so like I've gone through all kinds of phases, but then just kind of the indie variety of stuff is always what stuck.
I wish I could like have. I wish I had Spotify back when I was 18, because like, but even now when I look at like songs I was listening to like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm always like, oh wow, like, and I listened to a lot of System of a Down for some reason about 6 years
Yeah,
ago, and I'm like, wow, like, I didn't know it was like that long ago that I was like sort of just like moshing out and stuff. But I think I must
yeah.
have been in heavier bands at the time. Um, we just lead on, obviously, like that's almost like most of your life, isn't it, with music? So I guess like it's quite a maybe an easier answer that you could give to this, but why do you think the creative arts are important? Now you can actually talk about this from your own perspective, or you can talk about it in like more general sense, you know, like in a sort of like every person kind of thing.
I think creative arts for me, it's always been somewhere as like a release. So it starts from when you're in secondary school and you're doing like, if your school has a music program, then you're doing like a summer concert or a Christmas concert, and you can just put yourself out there, do what you do best. And if you didn't have that little outlet as a release, as like a really young teenager, then what else have you got left to really express yourself with? Because you're going through that much at such a young age that you need to have that ability to just tell the world what you're all about. And if that's through music or through drawing or through writing, poetry is a really good thing that I think a lot of musicians probably don't say they do, but in reality, if you're writing your own songs, you are doing poetry as well. So anything down that sort of creative avenue will always make you good, sort of from a mental health standpoint, as well as, you know, that physical release, the adrenaline that you get from going on stage. Really good.
Yeah, the chase. It's so weird. I hear so many people like even doing this that I've mentioned, like the language thing, and I just think it's like it's incredible that it's like a talking thing as well. You know, it's how, you know, I always use the analogy in another conversation about like how it described looking at a cold cup of tea. Like there's a lot of emotions there, like, but music can do that perfectly. Like, you
Yeah.
know, they have the music for that, but you can't actually describe it. It's just that feeling of, you know, a mix of disappointing and, you know, stress, anguish, bills, you're thinking of the electric and stuff.
Yeah.
But the final question, but probably the most important, and I kind of know this already, I guess, because we pre-talked about this, but how has lockdown affected your work and your future plans?
So the first lockdown was, it was kind of, we knew it was coming, so you just prepare. You just think, right, yeah, do you know what? Like we've spent a lot of years gigging quite heavily. Let's have a little break. It'll be nice, and then we can get back to it fresh. Then, as you realised, and as everybody realised that it wasn't just a short-term thing, you start to think, well, okay, so when's the next gig coming? And I think the lockdown, it affects you in terms of more of the comeback. I think you start getting those pre-gig nerves, but they're not like the usual pre-gig nerves. It's all right. Well, hang on a second. How are people going to react to me playing loudish music in a pub? And it's more that you're nervous about than actually doing the gig itself. It's the reaction, I think. It was the second curfew. No, sorry, the first curfew. That's what really did it for our gigs, though. We got asked to stop gigging pretty much when the 10 o'clock curfew came in from a lot of our venues, which was
Yeah, I
a
remember
real
that.
shame.
Yeah, it's weird. I get like I almost like blanked that out of my head that even happened, but I guess like because it didn't actually happen to me. But yeah,
Yeah,
the few it's weird questions when it says how is lockdown, but like I guess as a recording, like this is like what seems to be dubbed socially is like lockdown 2, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, a new update.
yeah,
The update we didn't want.
yeah. It's like the
We do
shitty
on our
second album, isn't it?
iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks very much, Nick. Thanks for your time.
No bother. Pleasure being here.
I need to click record. Stop. There we